It's Boomer Esiason and Craig Carton on The Fan, Sports Radio 66, WFAN New York.
6:06 on The Fan. Good morning and welcome to the first ever edition of the Boomer and Carton Show. Boomer Esiason and Craig Carton. Good morning, Boomer. Buddy boy, how are you today?
I'm wide awake this morning, Craig. It's good to see you. It's great to work with you, but I got to tell you, I'm a little shocked. I walked in here this morning figuring with all the press that we've been getting, everybody talking about, okay, we got a new show on WFAN. I walk into our office. We are, yes, folks.
AKA the closet, right?
We are sharing an office about 8 by 10, not even 8 by 10, and we not only are sharing it between the two of us, we also have a third person in there, Dan Cronin.
Right.
And I have like a little baby desk over there in the corner.
Well, that's the desk you deserve right now.
Right.
You have to earn the way to the big desk.
Well, I figured that we had the big show, we'd have the big office, the big desk, the whole thing else, but then now I realize what it's like playing for the Bengals all over again.
Yeah, the good thing is they washed the carpets for you. Because they said the man's coming in with a big ego, big NFL football star, needs clean carpets. They gave you what you wanted.
You know, your boy, Mark Chernoff, you come in here, he's got everybody snowed out here in the bullpen because everybody was just so excited that the carpets got cleaned. And if you take a look at these carpets and you think that they were clean, you got to.
It's kind of like when they lay new cement on the BQE. That's what the carpet's like here. Obviously, it's a very big day for Boomer and I. For me, radio-wise, this is the culmination of everything you want to do. For you, people always say to me in the last couple of months, he's a jock, he's a football guy, what does he know? The reality is you've done radio almost as long as I've done it, and I don't think there's going to be any problem with your transition almost a decade after you played football into doing this. The only issue is going to be, can you get up at 4:30 in the morning?
I can get up at 4:30 in the morning, and that's all those people actually said to you about me. You should hear what they're saying about you to me.
I read it. If
amazing.
You read anything in the newspaper, I'm like the worst guy on the planet, the reincarnation of Stalin.
Well, we'll figure that out as we go along. But I will tell you, I started on this station back in 1993 when I was the starting quarterback for the Jets, and Joel Hollander, who was the general manager here at the time, said, hey, how would you like to do a Friday afternoon 5 o'clock spot?
With Mike and Chris,
with
right?
Mike and Chris. And I'll tell you, when it first started, it was great, and it was fun calling in. And then as we progressively got worse over the years, those guys got more contentious. And I'll tell you, Friday afternoons, by the time Richie Kotite became the coach, was just a nightmare for me.
And yet you came back for more.
I did come back for more. And you know what? Let's face it. This station was the beginning of sports talk radio. And anybody who was in sports, especially here around in New York, you had to go on here. You had to go out and you had to get your story out. And those guys were great to work with, although, like I said, at the end there, it got a little bit contentious.
Now, be
honest,
for
the most part, it was good.
Before you did the show,
yes,
as a ball player, and I know you're from New York and all that, you listened, right?
Of course,
like every guy that says, "Oh, we never listened to the Fan. We don't know what those guys talk about."
Everybody listened.
You listened every minute that you could, right?
Absolutely, especially after a game that we lost to the Dolphins. It was a spike game. Everybody around here knows what the spike game was all about. That was my second year, and I was listening to the Fan on the way out of the building, and I actually had a pretty good game,
Right.
But I did throw a key interception in the second half. And I forget who was on the Fan that day, but irate Jet fans were calling in from the Meadowlands just screaming that I just, threw the game away and, that Marino outplayed me and all this other stuff. That was great.
Well, they were accurate. That's the best thing about Jet fans. They know what they're talking about.
And I was in my car. I had the tinted windows, and I was driving, trying to figure out go to the Lincoln Tunnel or go to the George Washington Bridge, because that is the biggest decision that a Jet player has to make.
You should have done
how to get home back to Long Island.
You should have done number 3. You should have gone south on the turnpike and not come back.
But I have to tell you, it was so you do listen, and I remember listening that day, and I chose the Lincoln Tunnel, by the way, and I got caught in a massive traffic jam. And there's a whole other backstory, a part of that. Maybe I'll tell you that one a little bit later. But I did listen, and I was like a sadomasochist listening to this thing. And
now you're here hosting the morning show.
And here I am.
See
right
that?
Now. It's unbelievable.
It's weird. I have a history here too, and we'll get all this stuff out of the way. I promise we'll do a show for you today. 1988. I actually interned here when Pete Franklin was doing the afternoon show. And one day, Bob Gelb, who's still here, and Steve Cohen, who's the longtime producer for Mike and Chris too, they go, hey, Craig, go into the studio, give Pete one of these live reads he's got to do. I'm like, all right. I was like 18 years old, didn't know anything. I go in, and this guy undressed me top to bottom with language that you don't hear in some, Upper West Side bars. And that was my welcome to the Fan. And that was almost 20 years ago, and it took that long to actually get back. So it's like a homecoming for me. Well, yet there's no cake, there's no champagne.
But they did clean the carpets, and they gave you a beautiful new desk. You actually had the bigger desk of the two of us.
As I deserve. All right, so here's the deal. Everyone wants to know what's the show going to be. Obviously, we're on the Fan. We are going to do sports. despite the fact I haven't done it in 5 or 6 years. Most of my career has been in sports. Obviously, Boomer, all he's ever done media-wise is sports. So anyone that believes we're not going to do sports, you can stop right there. We will do sports. We'll also do some other stuff as it comes up. But don't worry that the new morning show is not going to be sports-related, because it is going to be sports-related. And we promise you that from day one to however many days we're sitting here doing it.
But just promise me we're not going to be talking about hamstrings and separated shoulders, right?
I mean, it depends who hurts a hamstring and a separated shoulder.
We will be talking about a calf, though, this morning.
We will, yeah. Thomas Jones is going to join us later today. We have a surprise guest from Jersey coming on later today.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
I think that's more to prove a point that we're friends than anything else. And Drew Brees, the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, is going to join us. They play Thursday night against the Colts, and you're doing that game, right?
Yes,
I believe you'll be in Indy that.
I will be in Indy that night, and I will be here bright and early on Friday morning. So that will be the first test.
We're already laying odds that you don't show up Friday morning until about 7:15.
So you've got to wonder, how am I going to do this, right? Everybody keeps asking
I don't know
me.
how are you. The Indy game, it's an earlier game, right?
No, it's not. It's an 8:30 game.
Well, I mean, it's not right. So it's 8:30.
Right. Well,
so you
they
get
don't
done
play
by
games at 11 o'clock at night. You get
done by midnight. You get a little post-show wrap-up. Boomer, you were great today. Marv wants to have a drink, whatever it may be. You get on the plane. What best case? I'm thinking 1 a.m.
Best case. You would think I'd get back at 1 a.m.
2.5 hours about.
Yep.
Indeed.
That's all I
to
need.
LaGuardia.
Well, yeah, it's about an hour and a half, I would think, coming back.
An hour and a half. You don't have many bags. You travel light. I see the backpack today. You come right here. You ain't going home, right?
I would imagine so. I'm going to be sleeping in the bullpen somewhere.
You get in about 3:30. Maybe you have a car service. You'll be here right about 5:58.
Right. So I will say Friday morning will be the first test, because as we go and I do Monday Night Football for Westwood One,
right?
I'll have to get back. And sometimes, though, however, I'm going to actually bring you and Al, our producer, Al Dukes. We should actually introduce him as well. Bring you guys with me. We'll do the show on Tuesday morning from the city that we're in, possibly Atlanta, Jacksonville, New Orleans. I'm sure you'll love New Orleans.
That's going to be lots of fun.
You're going to be peachy on Tuesday morning. I'm sure about that.
Too many hurricanes, right?
And I think we'll also do one from Minneapolis too, as well.
We're going to Minneapolis.
I know you love Minneapolis. I think that game is in December, too, by the way.
Do I have to go to the game, or can I spend the night in the hotel?
You could do whatever you want, man.
All right, good. Because you and I on the road together. Forget about Al. I don't know.
Well, we should also let people know Al Dukes, our producer, where he was this time last year.
Well, let's not jinx us. Let's get to tomorrow, and we'll let people know where we got our producer from.
Are you sure?
He was a part of the shortest-lived morning show in New York radio history. And if we mention the guy's name today, I'm worried that we may put ourselves in a bind, and I don't want to do that just yet.
Alls I know, as they say out here on Long Island, alls I know is that Van Halen is starting a reunion tour, and I'm just wondering if Al Dukes could get us some tickets.
Jinx says, all right, always 718-937-6666, Boomer and Carton in the morning. We might as well get right into it, and I got to start you off with the Mets, because I'm hearing the fan on Thursday. The Mets are down 5-0 early. I'm driving down the turnpike. I hear Howie Rose say the word excruciating like 15 times to describe that game. All of a sudden, they're only 2 games up. And who would think we'd come in after Labor Day and they'd be 5 games up, the biggest lead in the National League, and essentially have the Division won?
That's right. You sent me an email saying the Mets are doing us a favor because everybody's mad at the Mets right now. But this is what the baseball season's all about. I mean, now it's the Yankee turn, the Yankee fan turn to actually want to cut their wrists because of the way the team is playing.
Yeah.
But I will say this. It was great yesterday watching Pedro on the mound because you know what? He is. You could see everybody in that dugout before the game, listening to Keith Hernandez on TV talking about the movement of his ball. They actually got up to 90 on the radar gun. He's such a smart pitcher. I mean, he is such a smart pitcher.
Yeah, he did a good job, especially after giving up 2 runs early.
So I think it's great for the Mets right now. He gives them an unbelievable shot in the arm. But I will say this, that bullpen is a bunch of gas cans out there. I mean, if that's what's ultimately going to decide whether or not they win the World Series. They're going to the playoffs. We all know that.
Right.
But that bullpen in crucial situations. And why is it, and I'm a Met fan, so why is it that every closer turns into Armando Benitez? Braden Looper, now all of a sudden Billy Wagner, who's throwing the ball 96, 97 miles an hour. But as everybody will tell you, it is a flat pitch, and it's coming right over the plate, and guys are just killing them.
Here's my bigger problem, and I have to be honest. I'm driving down the turnpike. They lose the game. Wagner gives up 3 runs in the 8th and the 9th, and I was like Jack Dawson in the Titanic. I'm not going to lie, but I've been a Met fan since I was born. And I'm telling you that by the time I got to exit 6 going back home, I had in my head, and that's when I started texting you the note, the Mets are doing us a favor selfishly. In my head, I was sure that when we came into work today, and I don't think there's a Met fan out there that would disagree if you're going to be honest about it, I was sure that when we came in today, the Mets would be in second place. That we'd all be jumping off the GW. I know I was like, I had that frozen right hand hanging onto the raft because I wanted to save the purple diamond in the Titanic. And in my heart, I said, you know what? Season's over. This is it. We're only up 2. We're going to Atlanta. The Braves own the Mets. And if there's a Met fan out there that thought everything was going to be hunky-dory going down to Atlanta, I'd like to meet you. Because I can tell you, I knew in my heart the season was over. We're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah,
everything.
but you were wrong.
And down
as
the line.
most
Yeah,
Met fans are in situations like that. I mean, listen, get rid of Delgado, get rid of this guy. Sean Green stinks, all these guys. But, at the end of the day, it's a long, long season, and to get caught up in all of that.
It ain't long when there's 30 games left.
I understand that.
And you just lost 4 in a row to the team that's right behind you.
But the ebbs and flows of a season. Look what the Yankees. I mean, they start out, they fall so far behind. Everybody's just ready to fire Joe Torre, get rid of Bobby Abreu.
You didn't panic a little bit?
No.
Come on, a little bit.
It's a long season.
Little bit.
No.
You were there a little bit?
No, you got the 2 most expensive teams in baseball right here in New York. They're going to the playoffs.
I'm going to be honest about it. As a fan, I panicked. I panic a lot.
And now with Pedro back, now everybody thinks everything's going to be fine.
And everyone in the building was panicked. Oh, we're down 5. That's it.
But they'll tell you a little bit of negativity goes a long way for this radio station. If a guy has a bad season, something goes wrong. I mean, we could have A-Rod talk for 5 weeks straight.
And here's the other bad thing about it. The other bad thing, even though I know that it's over, the season's over, we're done. I say we. The Mets are done, right?
We.
I'll say we a lot. The Mets are done. The weirdest thing about it, when Wagner came into that game, I'm talking about the last game against Philly, the day game, right? When Wagner comes in my heart of hearts, and I love Billy Wagner, I really do, despite the fact he's given up 5 runs in the last 8 innings, okay? In my heart of hearts, I looked in the mirror, and I typically don't like what I see when I see myself in the mirror. Balding, I'm not 40 yet, a little gut, it's embarrassing, right? And in my heart of hearts, I said, this guy's going to blow it. Yeah. And that is what a Met fan's all about.
That's exactly
I knew right then and there, this guy is going to blow it. They're going to be up 2. They're going to get swept in Atlanta. We're going to come on the air. It's going to be our fault. We come in, first show. Mets are in second place for the first time since April. And it was going to be all me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, all I can tell you is after this week, and yesterday's performance, and also having Moises Alou back now, they're hot.
No doubt.
Pedro obviously brings a presence to this team. Everybody seems to feed off of that. You saw him before the game yesterday in the dugout. You could see everybody's happy to have him back. Cool. I mean, this is great. And listen, there are a million decisions that a major league, especially a National League manager, has to make. And when Willie Randolph goes out to that mound and looks out to that bullpen and says, who am I bringing in?
He was like me in the turnpike.
What gas can am I bringing in now? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right.
I can't blame him for some of the decisions. I know he makes some crazy decisions, but at the end of the day, the player still has to make the play. He still has to be able to get a guy out. And when it's batting practice 101 late in the innings for the Mets, that's ultimately what will keep them from winning a World Series.
718-937-6660.